Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast that looks at projects throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about Project Ithaca from 2019.
Yeah, we are.
But before that, Lewis, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not bad. I was saying before, bit tired because for some reason couldn't get to sleep last night. But it happens.
Yeah, we're recording a little bit earlier as well, aren't we?
Which just kind of makes it worse. You're like, oh, I need to get to sleep, but it's fine. Had vaccine earlier this week. I think you did as well.
Yeah, second dose.
So all fully
double
done.
Backs.
I managed to get through the entire pandemic without getting
COVID.
Well, so far.
I was going to touch wood again, but yeah, good, cool.
But yeah,
any
good.
project news today?
Yeah, so I've got a couple here. One kind of building on something we looked at the other week,
right?
Which is Acre Offshore Wind and Mainstream to join 800 MW floating wind project in Japan.
Right. Okay,
so we talked about these floating wind turbines the other week, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
Apparently, there's more going to be built in Japan.
Right. Okay.
Basically, like this company has bidded and acquired like a 50% stake in it, which means it's going to go forward. They're going to build a shit ton more of wind turbines in Japan.
So good project, environmental positivity news there, hopefully.
Yeah, so they've got kind of targets of like X amount of energy to be used by these wind turbines by 2030 and 2040.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, looks like Japan is getting in on the fun.
The fun that is good, clean, green energy.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not too much to say, but you know, it's always good to have these fun little energy
just a bit
project.
of a shorter project news today. Did you find anything else?
Yeah, I've got one more, just because the title I quite liked.
Okay,
and it's Timmy the Tunneler has arrived in Belfast to boost a flood alleviation project.
Right, Timmy the Tunneler.
Timmy the Tunneler. At first, I was like, I really hope this is a person.
It sounds like a Thomas the Tank Engine kind of thing. Is that
Timmy the Tunneler?
Timmy the Tunneler.
But no, it's a 7 million project to kind of prevent floods in Belfast, and Timmy the Tunneler is a machine that will tunnel under a road to basically create more space of flooding water to go into.
Right, okay, so like a canal kind of like a, what do they call them? They have them like a storm drain kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's increasing the capacity of the sewage systems.
Cool.
Which, you know, it's good to prevent floods.
Do they have a picture of Timmy the Tunneler there?
They've got a picture of inside Timmy the Tunneler.
So what is it, some sort of digger excavator thing?
Yeah, it's a tunneling machine, which I assume,
like a boring machine, they call it sometimes, don't they? When it's like
boring machine. Yeah, I like to think of drill. Like those things that just have like the big drill bits on the front.
I think sometimes they're called boring machines.
Inside there, if you can see that,
it kind of looks a bit like inside of a spaceship almost, like a NASA, like a modern spaceship, but except there's two guys in hard hats and high vis.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I just like the idea of them naming this machine Timmy the Tunneler.
It's very cute. You can imagine it's got a face painted on the outside.
Oh yeah, definitely, like a Thomas the Tank Engine style face.
Like kind of creepy if it gets a bit rusty, that kind of thing.
It will look really great for like the first week, and then like after a while it'll just be horrifying.
It's covered in mud and its nose is spinning dramatically towards
They should get, who's that villain in one of the Incredibles films? The mole.
Underminer.
The Underminer, yeah. And he drives one of those, doesn't he?
He's in both of them. He's in the start of the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have that whole bit where they're...
The first one ends with him, doesn't it?
That's right, and it picks up pretty much straight after. Yeah, that's it.
So maybe the Underminer's going to Belfast.
Timmy the Underminer. Cool. So should we move on to the main topic of the episode?
Yeah, so Project Ithaca.
Project Ithaca.
I've got the...
I kept spelling wrong. I kept writing it Ithaca, but it's Ithaca.
Yeah.
I think it's said the same, isn't it? But,
yeah, I mean, it's just like Odysseus, isn't it? Like Ithaca.
Yeah.
I remember studying that at school, so I was like,
And is there not really any relation?
no,
is
it's
there at
I
all?
don't know
It's just
why
a
they called it
complete-
Ithaca.
No. It's like calling something like
Go on.
I can't
Come
think
up
of
with a good
it.
example.
Project Hercules, and it's nothing to do with like a strong guy or whatever. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like the most basic thing. I was going to say Icarus, and it's nothing to do with flying or
that
going
also
closer
works.
to the, yeah. I couldn't think of. I kept thinking of Ithaca. I was like,
you need to brush up on your Greek mythology.
I know, yeah.
But I've got the Google description here.
Yes, please.
Which says a group of strangers find themselves waking up in an alien spacecraft.
Has it got a full stop there?
No, it's just
waking up.
It's just worded weirdly. Let me try that again. A group of strangers.
This is waking up at the same time.
Yeah, hopefully not in an alien spacecraft. A group of strangers find themselves waking up in an alien spacecraft. As the abductors start terrorizing them, they soon realize that the ship uses their fears to power it.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
Yeah, which kind of doesn't go any deeper than it needs to be, but that is a general.
No, that's pretty
setup.
much. Yeah, I don't think there's some twists and there's one kind of twisty bit which happens in about a third in, but you see it coming if you're paying attention. Which obviously they don't want to spoil in the description there. But other than that, it's pretty much exactly as described. There's the character Sarah. She's kind of a little twist in that as well. But I don't.
I mean,
not in any real
quite
major way.
a convoluted film, so that's probably a fair description without going into too much detail.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Any numbers there, Lewis?
Oh, yeah. So
imagine maybe a bit harder to find some, is it?
Yeah,
it's a bit of a smaller film.
Right, I found the budget,
right,
which was 5 million Canadian dollars,
right, okay.
which is 4 million American dollars and 2.8 British pounds.
Okay, so quite
low, but not nothing.
I think Shaun of the Dead was probably, I think that was between 5 and 10. I remember hearing.
That's ridiculous considering how beloved that film is.
And if you think, yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's I suppose, I don't know, they'd use it for different things, but this film almost could have been a more expensive film because of the sci-fi nature. Quite a lot of different sets.
I saw one review of it saying that that it didn't have the budget to match the film's ambitions.
Yeah,
which is
some
kind
of the
fair.
More sci-fi stuff could have used a bit of.
Yeah,
I mean, there's one effect that looks like a glowing plastic bag round.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, considering quite high aims, I think they pulled off quite a lot of it.
Yeah,
in terms of for that budget.
I couldn't find box numbers. It was only released to select theaters, so it
Right.
doesn't really have a definitive.
Yeah,
box
I
office.
imagine that might be the case.
Which might be that they just weren't able to like sell it.
Yeah, because you have to get distribution and everything, don't you?
Yeah.
Because it's quite costly to put it out there in the first place. I think, was it released digitally or something as well? I think I saw somewhere. I was looking at an interview when you first got here with one of the main cast. I think they said it was on, I think, Apple and iTunes and stuff. I think it was released on there.
So it's directed by Nicholas Humphreys,
Right, okay.
who hasn't done a lot.
Doesn't ring any bells,
Yeah, he didn't have a Wikipedia page, which is
really?
usually good. Bar.
Did Monster Project, did Victor Matthew, did he have one?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Yeah.
But I think because of the behind the scenes stuff, I felt like I got quite a good image of him. But with this, I couldn't find anything. On that level.
Nicholas Humphrey seems to have done lots of like mermaid and siren stuff.
Really?
Like he'd done
like Dinosaur Project. He'd done quite a lot. Of
yeah,
stuff like that,
so
hadn't he?
he'd done
Interesting.
like a film called Mermaid Song, also known as Charlotte Song.
Right. Okay.
He's got a short called Sirens and a short called The
see a
Little
theme.
Mermaid.
Oh.
And I found The Little Mermaid on YouTube actually.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, it's like an 8-minute video. It's like an old like freak show circus thing. There's basically like a small like tin bath with a mermaid in it, like with her fin hanging off the end.
Okay.
People come to see, and then he like feeds her a fish.
Is she just like a normal woman?
It's a mermaid.
Yeah, but like
Although she's got a weird face. She's got like gills like across her face, like from her nose outwards is like gills. It's quite a cool effect.
Okay, cool.
But it turns out it was like his like student project like a Vancouver film
Right,
school.
okay, yeah.
Production quality is quite good. Obviously, it's only 8 minutes, not much happens.
Yeah.
The mermaid ends up eating the guy.
Right, okay.
But like it's fine. Like it looks quite good. And I was like, yeah, okay. It's kind of nice to see where he started, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed that there was no mermaids in Project Ithaca.
Not even a reference at all.
No, he seems to like his mermaids. I also sort of I didn't realize until the film started that Lionsgate had a part in it.
Right, okay, yeah, because I was looking at because there's quite a few different logos at the start.
Yeah, and one Lionsgate obviously is quite big. I did have a quick look of sort of like the Hunger Games, John Wick, Blair Witch, Now You See Me, Twilight, Rambo. Like they've got quite a big budget kind of list.
Yeah, one thing that confused me, and I don't know if No, I am right. I'm just looking at a bit. So one of the names that came up was Saban Films.
Yeah.
Which is not the same Saban that does Power Rangers. Because I remember that was a whole thing. Because they would take like originally like Japanese footage of a different show, re-edit it, add new voices, and refilm the teenage scenes to make the original series of Power Rangers. And I think they did it with some other stuff as well. But it's not the same Saban, because I originally saw that and I thought, that's so strange. It's also strange that they'd let another company have a similar name.
Yeah.
Maybe Saban have gone now. I just closed the Wikipedia page, so I'll never find out.
Yeah, finally, the main star of it is James Galandos.
Yeah.
Who plays John Brighton.
That's right, yeah. I thought I misheard that at first, but yeah.
Yeah, good old Brighton. Who's mostly done like one-off like episodes of TV. Like he appears in like one episode as a secondary character or whatever.
Yeah.
He's got a list of...
Was there anything that jumped out at you
really stood out. I'm trying to think because I didn't write anything down.
No.
It was nothing I'd seen.
No, I had a quick look through a couple of them. The only one that I recognised anything, Daniel Fathers, who was Perry, the English guy.
Yeah.
He was in The Void, which is like a kind of Lovecraftian horror film that I think's on Prime. It's quite relatively low budget.
He was also in the Snatch TV series.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that on there. Pontypool, which is like a bit of like a zombie thing. It's quite cool. Like I think it's like radio waves kind of turn you into the zombie, and it's like set in like a small radio station kind of thing. And also apparently he was in Camp Rock, the Disney film. So I'm not sure in what role there. I guess like the grumpy...
He must have played quite a different character.
Like a janitor or something, or like a grumpy dad or something. But yeah. But yeah, other than that, that's as far as I got with the cast.
Finally, I had a look on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right,
It didn't have a set Rotten Tomatoes because there was only 4 reviews.
Well, maybe, Lewis, we can add our reviews and get up to 6.
It had an audience score of 36%.
Right.
Of the 4 reviews, 1 was positive, 3 negative. So
right, okay,
it would be 25%.
That's correct.
But obviously it's too low to...
So how many does it need to calculate? Do you know?
I don't know.
10 or something? Maybe just
At
maybe
least.
5.
maybe when we had ours.
You know, I was thinking we could always, if anyone was so inclined out of the two of us, could type up some sort of reviews, add them to our new website that we've got, and then we can become one of the critics that go on Rotten Tomatoes.
Could you imagine? Just like,
if someone wants to pay us to do that, then I'll be happy
I mean, if anyone wants to pay us to do anything, like
we can just get a transcript. We could get an auto transcript. I think our podcast host provider actually does transcripts, so we could just copy and paste that into an article,
post it up,
put it as a script.
Yeah, if you don't like listening to podcasts, read the podcast instead.
God, can you imagine reading this nonsense? It's bad enough listening to it.
I enjoy listening to it.
I know, me too.
Right, so into the film.
Yeah, I haven't got anything else to add there. So, yeah, I mean, before we go in, what were your kind of expectations?
Well, because we had mentioned this film a few weeks ago.
It had been on the cards a couple of times.
When we did Monster Project, it was this or Monster Project,
yeah, it was
wasn't
the coin toss for that.
Yeah, the famous coin
toss. The famous
toss.
Double coin toss where we both got the same.
But on the premise, I was like, this sounds really interesting.
I thought the same thing. On the premise.
Yeah, on the and I was like, I was quite excited going into it.
Yeah, I was. I think
I was then a bit disappointed when I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, and and I was like, oh,
see, I didn't see that before, I don't think. One thing that was, it wasn't really necessarily disappointing, but it was a surprise that it was like the kind of like Saw all in one room kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know that they had scenes, you know, Mind Palace stuff, psychic,
Mind Palace stuff,
astral space, whatever. But once it kind of dawned on me that a lot of it was going to be set in that same bit of the room, I thought, oh, it's not really what I wanted. I was kind of hoping more for like more of like they're going through a spaceship and maybe they keep having like flashbacks to stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that was the thing that was the most, I suppose it was disappointing,
and like,
really.
I've already mentioned that review. I can't remember who it was. It'd be great to source your reviews, but it said the fact that the budget didn't meet the ambitions of the film.
I think that's
kind of leads into that. It was like budget constraints. You have to do this in one room, instead, which is a bit disappointing. But you know, you got to work with the budget.
A lot of the effects, you know, I know I was taking the piss out of what looked like a cloth or a plastic bag, but a lot of the effects, like the slimy, slithery stuff, looked quite good. And I think that kind of pulled it off. Anyway, we'll get into it. We'll come to those things quite soon, actually.
Yeah.
So where does it start?
1959.
That's right. Yeah.
Raven Rock Mountain Complex.
Yes, which is a very interesting name for a cave.
Basically, it's like an underground military missions thing, a project, if you will.
Yeah, kind of a secret. I think it's supposed to be. He says Department of Defense or something later.
I was going to say Ministry of Defense, but that's
it's like it's not CIA, it's not FBI. It's kind of like
it's just the Defense Department
or DOD.
But like it starts with John Brighton, James Glanders, he's like having a conversation with a computer.
Yes, so he's talking to like
At first I was like, oh, is this an AI thing?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And it kind of is later.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But it would then see like an 11-year-old girl. It's like a weird rock thing. It almost looks like a hot tub made of rock.
But it's also very much like a H.R. Geiger, like Alien inspired thing.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like an Alien style hot tub. Like if someone was a really big fan of Alien, you see people who have like motorbikes with all like the gross black piping and stuff. It's like if someone wants to make an Alien themed hot tub.
Yeah, Alien is in the film Alien.
The film Alien, yeah. And then she's in like some sort of like hospital gown or like some sort of
she's got like a helmet on that's got like the wires and stuff
like
into
electrodes
it.
Or whatever popping out.
And it turns out like the stuff coming from the computer is like her thoughts. She's not saying anything, but like she's talking on the computer to
I thought she was saying stuff. Is she not?
No, her mouth.
Because I was thinking, I don't know if I mean, it gets explained her like abilities a bit later.
Yeah.
But I thought in 1959, I don't think they had voice recognition software because I was thinking she was speaking, and then
they even put a bit of wood in her mouth at some point, and she's still like having a chat on the computer.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that.
And they're basically like her mind's like somewhere else, and basically saying like, what do you see?
And they is it at that point they say opening, like, what is the door open, or can you open the door?
Open the door, and you can't. Then you see like flashes, of like this dark room and people against the wall and screaming,
like more sci-fi than that kind of.
Yeah, and the girl who's called Sarah. Is like, I see people screaming, and they're like, open the door.
Yeah, and it's all very dramatic. And then does it then cut to the main place where we most of it is?
So we then go into this room, and to give a description of the room, it's like a small room, very dimly lit, because apparently aliens don't like bright light rooms.
It's kind of like a circular room, or
and there's
square,
we don't see them all first, but there's people up against the wall.
Yeah, like and 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, they've got like tentacles around them, like holding them up against the wall.
Yeah. It's very like it's very weird.
Yeah, it is.
It's like they've been caught by like some sort of octopus, or like a like in films when like vines grab people or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's very inky. Like, everyone's covered in
I constantly refer to it as the goo room.
The goo room. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll go with that.
There's just like black goo everywhere.
Because we immediately see, I think, this other girl who I just assumed was the same girl immediately.
Yeah.
And it is the same girl, but it's played by a different actress.
Yeah, but she does look... I even had to check after if it was the same girl, because they look so alike.
So she's supposed to be her, like, 10 years older.
10 years older. So she's like 20 or something by this point, roughly.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And
she wakes up.
And
she sees the guy opposite, and then you kind of get the close of all these tentacles.
So is this John Brighton as well? Is there? Yeah.
Although I don't think he's woke up yet. She just wakes up and sees him.
Wakes up and sees him, right? Okay, yeah.
And then we go back to Raven Rock Mountain Complex in 1969.
Right. No, actually, no. First of all, so we don't see John Brighton there. We see this Zach guy, because he wakes up.
Oh, yes, that's the guy she sees.
He wakes up and he's like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. And I'm like, his scared acting is quite bad.
Oh, yeah.
And then we see the girl, Sarah, and then it goes back to 1969. So there's quite a lot of jumping around in this bit.
It's quite hard to follow this point.
And it's 1969. I think we see a bit more of the complex. And I think is that when the general guy is like, Brighton's been gone for 10 years now. And we're like, okay.
So, John Brighton's gone. But then they said that... They said they've lost Sarah's transmission.
Right.
So they're saying she's gone missing. And then they...
Oh, that's it. So they're walking down going, Sarah's missing. And then they say something like, oh, Brighton would know what to do, but he's been gone for 10 years.
Yeah, they only just realised he's also been missing for like 10 years.
Because we find out later that he was like kicked off the project, I think.
So like Sarah, these military people are like, oh, fuck. Because their whole project is built around this girl, Sarah.
That's right, yeah.
And they're like, oh shit. And then we go back to the goo room.
That's right. And this is when...
we see that there's several people in there.
Yeah, and this is when I think Brighton... They mention Agent Brighton, and this is when I wrote, Agent Brighton, ? And I wasn't sure whether it was actually Brighton or like Brightened or, something. Or Brighton, EN.
But no, it
is just Brighton, which is a funny coincidence.
Yeah, and then he's kind of looking around nervously, and he's like, this isn't part of the plan.
Yes. Which is weird, because for at least the first third, he seems like he knows a lot. And I guess he does know more than most of them. But it's almost, maybe he seems in a bit like a sinister way. Maybe he's like...
Yeah, he doesn't seem like you can really
trust him.
Although at the same time, he seems like a genuine guy.
Yeah. He does, especially, I think, after a certain point.
Yeah. And then he gets talking to the other guy, who's Zach.
I think before they start talking... he suddenly has a flashback, Zach.
Oh, no, I think it's before that.
Maybe, yeah.
So you find out the other guy, Zach, who's like a topless, long-haired, tattooed guy.
Yeah, and he's got like, I think he's got like eyeliner on. Like, he looks
exactly like the person we find out he is.
Yeah, he's kind of like a rocky kind of guy.
Yeah. Imagine like the lead singer of like a pop punk band with long hair.
Yeah, from like The Used or something like that. Pop punk, like emo kind of.
Yeah, and then at that point as well, John asks Sarah, is the door open? We get the second reference to this door.
That's okay, yeah. And is this when it seems like Sarah's doing something? Because you keep seeing these shots of like lights pulsing along these like tubes from the people out into a machine kind of thing. And you're thinking kind of what's going on there. And then is this when Zach has...
we get the first like flashback of the film.
And it suddenly flashes to him having sex with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a particularly explicit sex scene, but as they kind of finish up what they're doing, there's lots of them moaning together, like, oh, like together. And it's a bit like, it goes on for a bit long.
And he says to her, like, call me Zach Chase.
Oh, does
he's like, call me Zach Chase. Okay. And she's like, okay, Zach Chase. And I was like, oh, fucking hell.
I didn't notice that bit. And then she's like, I'm your classy girl.
Yeah, and he says to her, devil got you good. Because she's wearing like a mask with like a long
masquerade
nose.
Thing, yeah.
And then we see that Sarah is also like in the room. Like,
yeah. She's just standing there watching or something.
Yeah, which is a bit weird.
And then it cuts out, doesn't it? And then she says, "I'm your classy girl."
Yeah.
Which really freaks Zach out. And he's
and she says, "Devil got you good." And he's like, "What the fuck? How would you know this? How do you know this?" And like, so he's freaked out. And then
the other Rhonda, she wakes
up and she is like panicking.
Yeah, she's like fully,
Turns out she's claustrophobic.
That's it, yeah. And so when we kind of noticed with the other ones, when they first wake up, they kind of struggle a bit, and the tentacly things around their arms and around their bodies kind of tighten, a bit like a boa constrictor kind of thing, like if they struggle. So she's struggling a lot, and you can see it like tightening up.
Yeah, and John Brighton's like, "Let it happen, let it happen."
And Zach's like, "What the fuck? No, we can't let her die."
Yeah,
and then she just passes out. But it's like to the point where it's almost crushing her. Kind of thing. And
like you say, like a boa constrictor.
Yeah, like, and he says it's best that she passed out because if she hadn't, her spine would have snapped.
Yeah,
which is really strange because, like, how did he know when she was going to pass out? He was basically letting her like almost die, kind of thing. It's not really explained how he knows that, because we know that he's had encounters kind of before.
Yeah, or maybe he's just figured it out since he woke up.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
like he pulled a bit, saw it tightened, and was like, "Oh, the harder I pull,
yeah." But
the more it tightens.
It's like, I guess she passes out from lack of oxygen, does she?
Yeah,
or stress or whatever.
Or, yeah.
But, yeah, and then at this point is when I'm thinking, how the hell does he know so much? Is this guy like an alien? It turns out, no, not at all. And then it goes back to 1969. And there's this lab guy talking to the general, and it's just complete nerd gibberish.
I've literally written down weird nonsense science,
and it's just like, and then the flux of the capacitor is with the telegraphic.
Yeah, the scientists explained to me, we got like, what's going on with Sarah disappearing,
and it's like a whole long run-on sentence, and then he's like, right, and then he does like another whole one, and then he goes, "God damn it, John, what the hell have you gotten yourself into?" like to himself.
Yeah, he's basically saying like, "Oh, John and Sarah have arrived together."
Yeah, they're kind of connected in some way across. I think across like. They don't say time and space at this point, but it's kind of implied that there's some connection between the two of them.
And they go on this weird nonsense stuff, and it's not because they're just kind of using like sciencey words for the sake of sciencey words. It's not really clear what they're talking about.
It's very much like an old Doctor Who episode or something where there's a lot of reverse the flux of the.
Yeah.
What is it? Reverse the polarity of the
polarity of the flux warp machine.
Yeah. There's a bit like, to be fair, in my science project when Bob is Dennis Hopper is just going mad.
But it's kind of played a lot more seriously.
Yeah. I mean, that's very jokey.
And then we're back in the goo room. Like there's so much, like there's lots of bits happening that don't really make sense. So like I didn't write too much down.
Yeah. I've got more notes
later on,
I think, but then also, I mean, we can just breeze.
This is all just like the setup. There's a bit again. John's asking Sarah to open the door.
Well, this other guy turns up then, and I'm written. Where do these people keep coming from? Because obviously there are like 6 people, 5 people in the room.
Yeah,
we're introduced to them as they wake up,
one by one. Yeah,
and it's this British guy, probably in his 40s or 50s.
He's wearing like an American prison jumpsuit.
Although it's not, I mean, because it's so inky, it could be like a work.
Yeah, but it's like that classic orange. I immediately thought.
Did you think prison. That? Because he says, "Oh, I haven't been orange my whole life," and I'm like, well, I don't know what this means. And it turns out it's because it's a kind of lingo from a different.
And
he immediately is a little bit homophobic.
Yeah, I've written that down. He immediately calls Zach a pufter.
Yeah,
which
pufter, he says.
Is a very outdated term. Even more so when you find out some more details.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I thought because. Well, we'll get to it in just a sec. I'll write it down as I come to the explanation. But so he's asking questions. I've got here nice diverse range of characters.
John asks him like, "What's the last thing he remembers?"
Yes,
and he was like in a prison cell and he was feeling really sick. And they've opened up like the little eye socket.
I didn't realize that was because it looks so. It's so white and clinical.
It looks quite futuristic, doesn't it?
It does, but I thought. Yeah, anyway, yeah.
And basically he's thrown up like this like this black goo, essentially.
Yes, that's it.
And then they realised that they were all sick. That one of the last things they remember is that they were all sick.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And there's a whole bit where they're talking about, someone says, is it magic?
Yeah, and Perry, this British prisoner guy.
Roger that, of the extraterrestrial variety. Zach says, anyone who agrees with Dumbledore here, raise your hand.
Yeah, which is quite funny because obviously no one can raise their hands.
Yeah, and also it's like, what, is it because he's English or is it because he's talking about magic?
But he basically concludes like, it must be aliens.
Yeah, he says he's been with technology his whole life.
He was like, have you ever seen a room like this?
Yeah.
And that's also when we find out John Brighton's in defense because they're like, who the fuck are you? How do you know
and
stuff?
I think Perry, is he called Perry?
Perry
says something. He recognizes the kind of guy that Brighton is.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've spent time with like suits, like CIA, FBI. He's like, you're one of them. And then, he says, I'm with defense.
So far, we've got Sarah, the girl, John Brighton.
Sarah's the girl.
the special girl.
Special girl.
John Brighton, the American government agent.
Yeah.
Zach, the rock star. And Perry, the prisoner.
And
no relation to Perry the Platypus.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode of that show.
Christina's watched loads, like caught bits, but
and then Rhonda wakes up.
She wakes up again.
Yeah,
and
she's
immediately
panicking.
Perry, the prisoner.
Well, John tries to sort her out.
Yeah, but then Perry's like, close your eyes, calm down.
He really is quite.
And like, he's really kind of good at this. He talks her through and he's like, have you got a family? She's like, I've got an 8-year-old daughter. And he's like, oh, my oldest daughter's 19. And he kind of talks, and he's like, think of like a special place.
like your
back
happy
at home
whatever,
with your daughter. Think of that. And calms her down. He's like, breathe. And then he's like, now open your eyes and look at me. Yeah. And I've written down here, like, Perry's done really good here.
I know he has. But then this is when I kind of figured the prison thing, because he says he spent lots of time in small rooms or whatever. Yeah. Or cells not much bigger than him or whatever, which kind of clicked for me with that. I didn't really think of the jumpsuit thing until a bit later.
Right.
I don't know why.
So, he's calmed her down. And now we've got Rhonda as well, who's like a middle-aged black woman.
Yeah, she seems quite nice. We don't really know much about her. But this is... I think she says she's a teacher then, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She says she's a high school teacher.
When she's talking to Perry.
When she's talking... Yeah. And this is when this is when I've got down here... They're all from different times, right?
Well, I hadn't worked that out yet.
So I worked it out because we know John is from, I put 1969, but actually 1959. And Zach is clearly, I've written at least 1993 because when they're talking about seeing a bright light, he says, like fire in the sky, which I Googled and it came out in 1993. So I was like, immediately, there's a difference there, but I didn't know where everyone else was from.
Yeah. And also the fact that Rhonda, a black woman, is a teacher. She probably can't have been from 1959.
That's true. Yes.
And John Brighton's trying to work out why us. So that's how they figure it out.
Yeah.
Rhonda said she was on her way to work. It's the last thing she remembers.
Yeah.
And then our final person, our sixth person in the room, wakes up. Who's this French girl who's like panicking, speaking in French.
Yeah, and then we immediately get a flashback of her, don't we? And this is when I've written that the costuming, I think, was really good because it's not super clear. They're all from different places.
Yeah.
Even this bit where we see she's wearing quite modern stuff, but it could be like 80s. It could be like she's got kind of an oversized like denim vest thing on.
Yeah.
And like a hoodie or something. And she's in quite a sad situation.
Yeah, so her flashback, we see her and this older guy in this kind of like rundown hotel type place.
Something like that. And she's being like pimped out for drugs,
they knock on the door. She's a prostitute. You see like the needles, so I assume like heroin.
Yeah.
And she goes in with this big guy who then shuts the door on the older guy.
Yeah. And then you see them having sex, and then she's got like she takes both of their doses.
Yeah, the other guy looks like, oh, it's been over an hour. Where's my drugs?
Yeah.
And he's like, she's taking your heart.
Yeah.
And then, like, as she's kind of laying in bed, kind of feeling shit about herself, we then see Sarah in the mirror.
That's right. Yeah. So
like,
she
also
gets
laying
freaked
down
out by that.
And then she wakes up and she's. We go back to the goo room, and Rhonda fortunately knows French.
Luckily, she speaks French, so I assume as part of her teaching repertoire, she's got some French language.
Yeah, she kind of talks her down, calms her down, and then gets Alex to start talking English.
Yeah, which is very convenient.
It made me laugh as well. Like, can you speak English? She was like, yeah. And then like the first thing said to her is like a really complex like science sentence, and I was like, even if you know another language, like it's a lot to ask to know that sentence. And she recognizes Zach.
Yeah, she's like, you're Zach Chase.
Yeah.
And then he says, yeah, Zach Chase from Mossy Ledge.
Yeah, but Perry and John don't recognize
They're all
him.
like and he thinks that they all will recognize him.
Yeah.
So he's like
oh, so you know me.
Yeah, he just assumes that they all know him.
Yeah.
And then they kind of come to the conclusion, because I think because Alex said, yeah, you're the famous
pop star, and he's like, no, I'm a rock band. She was like, no, you're like a pop band.
And he says who died, whose girlfriend murdered him when she was a child. So and then it turns out it was 15 or so years before.
That's when we then
and the girlfriend,
because they say to Alex, the French girl, like, when was this? She was like 15 years ago. Yeah, and that's when it's like, oh shit,
that's when it all kind of comes together. And then she's from 2018.
Yeah, I've written down here. They then ask each other what year it is.
Yeah, but before that, it says that she says there was a whole famous trial with his girlfriend, who we imagine is the one he was having sex with the mask.
Which, like, we'll mention it now, but it's kind of really sad, because like it turns out
it's really sad. Yeah,
like he
disappeared.
She got arrested because he disappeared, and she just said there was a big flash of light, and we never saw him again.
And they never found the body.
Alien abduction. Yeah. No, like obviously you killed her.
She was just put in prison for like life.
And like she was completely innocent. He was just abducted.
Although
by
you
aliens.
say it's sad, but it may get resolved in some way.
I don't think so. We'll get to the end at the end.
Okay.
But yeah, they go through and ask what year it is, because Alex says it's 2018.
Yeah, I've got them here as well.
Zach says it's 2001.
That's right.
John says 1969.
Yes. Oh, does he say
1969? Yeah, Sarah was 1959.
No.
Oh, no. He says 1969.
So what must have happened then is he left the project for 10 years. And then they both went up at the same time for some reason.
Yeah, and then Perry says 2050.
That's right. And Rhonda's
1977.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
this is what I've got. Nice reveal, third of the way through. So I think that hits quite a nice, because it's quite a dramatic thing. It builds up to it.
Yeah.
I'd kind of spoiled it for myself by like looking up that film when that was released. Oh. So I was kind of like,
no, I was like, oh, that's quite cool. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see where they go with this.
Yes. Not
nowhere really. And then this kind of big, I described it as a big snake.
Yeah, so when it comes
down
out
in the middle,
it's kind of quite like
it's like a slug,
and slimy, and that effect's quite good. That looks like a practical thing.
Yeah,
and then it kind of shoots out this like face hugger thing.
Yeah,
which is the thing that looks a bit like a cloth.
I saw a behind the scenes video actually.
Did you watch? I couldn't find anything.
Oh, I'll get into how I found it later on.
Okay.
It generally looked like how it does on the thing, like this really. It's almost like a really thin skin,
almost like tights or something.
Yeah,
like that,
over the head, and they actually had that, and then added on the lights.
Oh, so they're not on it at all? Then?
No,
so I thought maybe they'd had LEDs like sewn into it or something like that.
Maybe, but behind the scenes they didn't. They didn't show it. They just have it over. I assume they didn't have it over Rhonda's head for like ages, but you see it over the head, and it's like cameras.
So it kind of looks like it's suffocating them, but it's also like stretched away, and there's lights pulsing. Yeah, out so this as if it's like sucking.
Big snake slime monster thing has shot this plastic bag, and it's over Rhonda's head.
Yeah,
and I thought, oh, of course the black woman dies first.
Yeah, and she does, doesn't
she? She does, but not at this point.
Not quite yet. And then she goes.
She wakes up in a coffin.
That's right. So we already know. Yeah, she's claustrophobic.
Yeah, and she's like obviously panicking and was like, shit. And then she kind of looks to her left, and Sarah's there. And she's like, calm down. And Rhonda then climbs out the side of this coffin. And
because it's kind of like a weird camera angle thing where she turns and then she's kind of like sitting up kind of already. It's like it's like a very dreamy kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And she's like in this house.
Yeah.
And Sarah says, I've taken you to a safe place.
Yeah, so that was the safe place she was thinking of. It was meanwhile, like a cabin, isn't it?
Yeah, we still see the aliens like...
Yeah, it's
I've written
back.
alien sucking face.
Yeah, it's flashing back to the reality. And I think they're all panicking, aren't they? Because she's being like face hugged.
And then in this safe place, she sees her grandma.
Yes.
Sitting in this room.
Yeah.
Which is the woman you said reminds you of the Oracle.
Right, yeah. So I said that because we watched the trailer as we always do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually, one of the reviews I read, someone said, I literally had to pause the film and go see if it was the same woman.
I did, yeah. Because I'd watched The Matrix recently and I'm aware, I think, is it between 1 and 2 or 1 and 3? They recast because I think the original actress died.
Yeah.
Which actually, now that I think about it, means it couldn't have been her because this film was filmed in 2018, 2019. So that kind of answers my own question. But yeah, it's she's a similar kind of mannerisms, similar kind of grandmotherly,
like
exterior,
a nice
but
woman,
kind of maybe sinister, vague speak
because she starts talking to her, and then you kind of realize it's not the grandma.
Yeah, she starts talking.
And she gives like a specific amount of minutes that she's
really
alive.
clinical. She says about she's got a slight heart problem with her aorta or something. And she lists in minutes and seconds how long she's been
and then her voice kind of changes to this weird alien
and she
voice.
Says like, you won't be functioning for longer, you don't belong here.
Yeah, and Sarah disappears from the room. It's all kind of creepy.
Yeah, and I think because, and then that's when we don't really see it explicitly, but that's when Rhonda's basically killed, isn't it? Because she doesn't come back, and later on they say they got rid of her, kind of thing. Yeah,
because it seems like Sarah's taken her to this dream place, but then the alien's taken it over.
Yeah,
and it's like,
so maybe they. Yeah, I think I imagine they just killed her because what's happened is they tried to do the fear thing. She was diverted out of it, and so she's no use to them, kind of thing. So they've just.
So all the people obviously screaming.
Yeah,
which then cuts back to the opening scene.
Right, yes,
when
that's right.
young Sarah's in this thing, and John's like, "What? What can you see?" And she's like, "People screaming." And you see like Zach and Perry, and it's like, "Oh yeah, she saw this happen 10 years ago."
And she says that later as well, doesn't she? She says she saw that.
Yeah,
and then we see a little bit more of that scene in 59 because we see that she kind of passes out, dies, has like cardiac arrest, and then Brighton runs in and revives her. And at the same time, she kind of wakes up on the ship. So there's some sort of, she's kind of connected with her past self over like.
And she says they're coming.
Yeah. And there's
in 1959.
Everyone's just like screaming. And Zach says, the first thing I'm going to do when I get out of here, drugs, lots of drugs.
Oh, yeah, no. It got a bit before that because I wrote that down. So Rhonda's now died, and I've written because she's black. Because after we watched Monster Project last week and there was a whole thing about the black guy not dying first, it's funny that we then watch a film.
We had another one in the middle, but you might have forgotten that.
The last film we watched.
No.
Oh yeah, oh fuck's sake, the fucking Science Project. The last film that wasn't terrible that we watched.
I mean, it wasn't great.
But anyway, there was a whole thing about black guy dying first. Yeah. So it made me laugh. Like, trope. This time the black person does, and they kind of realised that the alien shit harnesses fear. Yeah.
So John Brighton kind of goes into what he knows at this point, but before that, he says, the ship feeds on fear. Yeah. He says that he thought that the electrical signals, the LED strips coming out of them, he thought that it was something feeding into them, but then he notices, for some reason he notices it's going out, which should be pretty obvious, surely.
Notices they're coming out when people get
right. So when Rhonda first woke up and was panicking, there was loads, and then again when she was in her nightmare thing.
And then Alex, the French woman, is like, I won't do drugs, I promise I'll get better. And Zach turns around and goes, are you kidding? The first thing I'm going to do is drugs. Lots and lots of drugs. I was like, that made me laugh.
And then Brighton goes into his whole thing of what he did, and it turns out that he worked on the Roswell crash.
Yeah, Roswell was an alien ship.
Yes. And they go into a whole thing. Perry seems to know some stuff about it as well, which I've written. I don't know if that's maybe just the CIA thing that he says he knows. He's worked.
Yeah,
I think he says he's worked. Oh, he knows about. I think he knows about Raven Rock somehow.
Oh yeah,
which is a bit. We don't really know how. I think because he said he's done thieving, so maybe he's done stealing from government things or something.
John explains that the fear is the fuel for the ship.
Yeah.
And they discovered this when the alien crashed in Roswell.
Yeah.
They realized it's run like telepathically.
Yeah, because the pilot died, but they had that interface, which is the alien H.R. Geiger hot tub.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what to do with it, first of all. They were dissecting it. I think they realised, it was telepathically linked, like you said.
Yeah, and they said there was actually, before Roswell, there was an earlier crash.
Yes.
And it happened near a town nearby.
Yeah.
And they went round and thought the town might be infected.
They tested all of them because there was some sort of spore outbreak, wasn't there? They said.
And nobody had any illnesses.
No issue.
But
yes,
there was a miner whose wife was pregnant.
That's right. Yeah. So one baby was born in that situation.
And they took the child and switched it with a mum that died in childbirth.
That's right. Yeah.
So gave this miner and his wife another, and never told them.
Yeah.
Which would be bad if they then had a DNA test later in life.
I mean, it's also 1959 as well. But,
So they've taken this baby that was a fetus when the spore stuff was happening.
Yeah.
And they realised that she had something different about her.
Do you hear what they called it?
Telepathy.
Yep. Which by the fact that it was auto-correction on here makes me think they made it up for this.
They made up so many words for this.
Because there is a word for technopath.
Yeah, no, they take stuff that has words and make up a new word for it. And they discovered that she was telepathic at 12, which basically means she can control tech with her mind.
Because we see a child's hand hovering over a dial, and it's moving, and I'm thinking, psychic,
and this is obviously this child's Sarah.
Yeah, it's very, it's a big build up, and then we find out it's Sarah, but we see Brighton kind of sees her as a daughter, and
because his wife and daughter died.
Well, so I thought, because it's not clear what happened because they're trying to deal with this whole mystery thing. I thought maybe they were killed by some alien thing, or
no.
It turns out it was just a car accident.
Yeah,
there's a bit where his fear later is his wife is dying in the hospital, and the doctor's just being really mean to him.
Yeah,
it's you did this kind of thing.
They find out this child could communicate with the alien hot tub they've got.
So the it's like a nanobot spore thing is in her, and that means that she's got.
And again, they're initiate the vessel, open the door.
Yeah,
because they really want to open this door.
Yeah, and John then gets kicked off the project.
Yeah, so she's obviously really scared, doesn't want to do it, and John's come on, do what you can. And then the military guy's you're going too far, you're too emotionally attached, and starts electrocuting Sarah to try and force her to do it.
She's got the wooden thing in her mouth. And, she's getting shock therapy, and he's John's not having it, so they basically kick him off.
And they find out he gets transferred to DC. Right,
okay. And he makes these promises that he'll go with Sarah wherever she goes, even though he's about to be fired, which doesn't really make sense. And this whole transponder thing with the laser and the eye thing we see later, I have no idea what any of that
is. It's not really
about.
Clear what it means, but he'd come up with some way that if she goes off with these aliens, he'd be mentally linked with her and go with her.
Because we see a flashback later when there's what's supposed to be a dramatic reveal, but it doesn't mean anything because we don't know. But he's getting some sort of blue laser in his eye, which I imagine is this transponder, which is supposed to link the two together or whatever it is. And it turns out that Sarah is an acronym for Specialized Extraterrestrial Reconnaissance Agent.
Yeah.
So it's SERA.
And it was this whole program was called Project Ithaca.
Woo.
Because why not?
That's probably
maybe it's
Ithaca
Ithaca because like the Odyssey is Odysseus trying to get home to Ithaca. Maybe it's something to do with like the aliens trying to get home to.
But they don't know that the aliens are trying to get home.
Well, we don't really know what they know.
No, but they only get told that. Yeah, John gets told it though, doesn't he?
I suppose. Yeah.
I'm looking on here on the Ithaca Wikipedia.
What, Project Ithaca? Or
no, just the Ithaca Wikipedia.
Oh, it's just a place in Greece.
I know. I'm just saying if there's anything that no. No, I think it just sounded nice.
Yeah. And then we get back to the room. And I wasn't quite clear because we then get the gooey snake thing come down again. And I thought it just attacked John, but it also attacks Zach and Perry.
I think they all get put in their things now. In their Mind Palace Fear Room things. Before that, I think John says he doesn't know if because this is almost straight after the revelation of the time travel in their sense. In their he says he doesn't know if they've been in stasis or if it exists kind of outside of time, like temporal or something. And then then they all get sucked into their.
They all get sucked in. And it starts with John, who's in the hospital. His wife, the doctor's like, "I'm not going to lie to you, your wife's dying." And then he gets the alien voice and starts like taunting John and being like, "Oh, she died because you just had to drive late that night. You
couldn't keep." And we assume that the daughter was just killed already.
Yeah, but apparently John doesn't care as much about his daughter as his wife.
And it's like she'll live in pain forever, wishing she died. It's like very taunting.
It's quite heartbreaking.
And it's quite sinister because it's a bit of a garbled kind of voice. And you kind of
see like John's aware of it's an alien thing, but you still see like the heartbreak in his eyes.
Yeah, but then he does he not kind of come to his senses and is like no kind of thing.
Yeah. And then leaves. Perry has a flashback and it's like he's in prison facing his daughter, Sammy.
Like he's got a visitor. He's in like the visitor's room thing and she's there and she's like, "Oh, I'm your daughter." And he's like
immediately he's like, "Fuck off." Like he immediately calls out the alien and was like, I got past it. I've worked to get past this. Like you're not taunting me.
She's trying to be like, "Oh, you're a bad dad. You're in prison," and he's just like, "I've had to deal with this before." Yeah,
it's like I've dealt with this. Like you're not doing anything, and
he's just not having any of it. And then he's like, "Oh, you should have got my ex-wife in."
And he's just like, "Yeah, fuck you." And then we get Alex's flashback, the French girl.
Right,
which is like arguably the most horrific one.
It's definitely the most traumatic one. So she's a child.
She's 11, we find out.
Right, okay.
She's hiding under a kitchen table in like this small apartment.
Yeah.
And her mum's like laying on the floor. I don't know if she's been like knocked down or maybe she's on drugs or what.
I think she's been bashed.
That's what I thought.
In the head because she's kind of like almost like fitting a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's kind of half alive, half not.
And there's this guy, Jacques, kind of standing over her, being like, "Where's Alex? Like, I'm going to take her."
Did you have subtitles for that?
Yeah.
So I didn't have any subtitles for that.
I put subtitles on the whole film because I was like,
right, okay. I couldn't get subtitles to work for that. And I've got no subtitles in this long scene where the guy's talking to the mum as she dies.
Okay.
So tell me what.
So he's like shouting at her, being like, "Where's Alex?" And he's like, "I'm going to get her. I'm going to take her away from me. Like, she's mine. Where's Alex?"
So is he not the dad then?
I think he might be like a stepdad sort of situation.
Right, okay. But he's like abusive. Probably.
Yeah, I also
he's definitely abusive.
I also think he's the guy from earlier on that was pimping her out.
See, yeah, I thought that, but he looks like he's the same age there.
But you know, he might.
Maybe it's just the same actor.
Yeah, and he's kind of holding like a lead pipe or a something like a metal.
Yeah, like some sort of bar.
And Alex is clearly terrified under the kitchen table.
She's like hidden at that point, isn't she?
Yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna," and he literally says, "I'm gonna rape her."
Oh, does
when
he?
I find her?
Oh, Jesus! Okay.
And it's like, this is fucking horrible.
Wow, I'm quite glad I didn't have the. I mean, I got the. You know, she's clearly terrified. It didn't, I got the message, but I didn't know if there was anything particular.
And then he spots her under the kitchen table.
Yeah, and he goes,
was like, "There you are."
He goes down to like get her, doesn't he?
And then he gets whacked on the head and like dies. And we see it was Sarah again has stepped in and saved the day.
Yes.
And
she's like kind of like, thank you, kind of. Or does she say anything then, or is it?
I don't think she says anything.
Right.
And then we go to John's flashback again, and Sarah's there to help him like get out the hospital, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then
John and Sarah are released from the aliens.
That's right. So Sarah pulls John out, kind of thing, into what, the cabin is that?
No, I think they're just in the goo room.
They have a chat in the cabin at some point.
Is that now? I can't remember.
Let me just have a look through my thing. I've got Sarah. No, yeah. Sarah talks to John Brighton in Rhonda's safe place. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then this is when she does a load of techno babble, and she says something about because it's the first time Sarah speaks. Biomechanoid governed by a super AI computer.
Which again is a made up word, which there's already a word. Biomechanoid. Is that not just an android?
I mean,
what's the difference between a biomechanoid and
I don't think an android necessarily has to have biological things.
But I'm thinking like Data in Star Trek,
or like
is an android.
The replicants are like, do androids dream of electric sheep?
Yeah. I
think android is a bit of a looser term, but like bio androids would have been fine, not because mechanoid doesn't really mean anything. But
and we find out that after John disappeared, to make Project Ithaca more efficient, they like wiped Sarah's mind so that the only thing she could think about is linking up with the aliens.
She seems very okay with everything that's happened to her, but I think that's because she's kind of been stripped of all emotion, kind of thing.
She's got.
Because they say a couple of times, I think Alex says later, like, what did they do to you? And she's like, everything that was necessary.
There's a bit early on where we see John and younger Sarah talking about like blue whales.
That's right. Because he's basically like her father figure.
Yeah. So they figure out like,
that's the transponder thing. Yeah, is to do with because he says about blue whales being able to communicate across the ocean, which is then when he kind of comes up with this idea.
And they've wiped Sarah's mind. We find out.
And she says at this point that the aliens, or she doesn't say aliens, she says they're planning to open an interdimensional portal to bring more of them across. So this is kind of like the stakes there.
And John's like, is it just ships? But she says like bodies as well.
Yeah, and they also, I think she says the ship has some way of existing across time. So it exists in all their times at once. So it's almost able to suck them all up at once, kind of thing. It's in like a pocket dimension kind of thing.
And then
Sarah disappears, isn't she?
Yeah. And the Oracle is talking to John. I'm just going to call her the Oracle because it makes it easier.
And she says Atticus, and I'm thinking, is this some secret name? Which just turns out is his middle name.
No, it's not. It's his first name. His full name is Atticus John Brighton.
But she says Brighton Atticus John.
Yeah, as in Brighton, Atticus John.
Right, okay. Because I was like, why are you just saying his name backwards?
Yeah, then when he, I think when he's with the military at some point, they refer to him as Atticus John.
Right, okay. Right.
It turns out he just goes by John because Atticus is a weird
it's kind of a cool name.
It's quite a cool name, but, you know.
She says she's kind of being like the evil alien to him, and she says, most of you ain't worth the sack of skin you came in.
Yeah.
That was quite cool.
Yeah, she says like Sarah's a bad seed.
Yeah,
we're all old and we want to go home.
Yeah, is this when they kind of imply, or is it? I think she talks to Sarah later. When she kind of she talks to Sarah later about her being, like really powerful.
Yeah,
and she implies that like they've all been taught like knowing Sarah for ages, kind of thing. There's like a weird, some sort of time loop situation going on, maybe in some. I think it's because they exist outside of time. It's like they've been doing this stuff for a countless time, kind of thing.
Yeah, and
And we find out the thing about the transponder, and we see the laser eye flashback.
Yeah.
She kind of reveals...
The Oracle takes John to Raven Rock.
Yeah, and she kind of reveals that the transponder was never done properly.
Yeah.
Which I think is supposed to be this whole thing of like, well, how come he's there then? And it turns out that they wanted him to be there, the aliens.
Yeah, so
they want to try and unlock her or something.
He thought he'd been abducted because Sarah had been abducted and they have this connection.
Yes. Because he got shot a laser in his eye in 1959.
Turns out they knew it didn't work, but they knew what they were planning. So they kind of brought him anyway, just to kind of mock him.
Yeah, but also I think, thinking about it now, I think almost as like a support for Sarah, almost to like unlock her kind of thing. But yeah, it's not really clear. And that whole transponder laser eye thing is played as this big reveal, and I was just thinking, I don't know if I missed something, but it doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah, no, I was thinking exactly the same. Yeah. And then back in the goo room, Alex wakes up, the French girl.
Yeah, so she's woken up just from her
and
traumatic.
Starts talking to Sarah. Starts talking. Sarah's like, "Are you okay?" or something.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, you can speak."
And then because Alex kind of realizes that Sarah saved her.
Yeah,
and she's very thankful.
And they're both kind of fucked up people because they both had horrible childhoods in different ways.
And she kind of says like why do you do this? Like, why don't you just you've been forced into this situation? Why did you carry on? And Sarah's like, it was necessary. Yeah,
she's very much like you said, like driven by the mission kind of thing. Even though she's got her memories back of what's happened, she still seems to believe that it was for like the right.
It seems like deep down, like Sarah's a good person despite all this shit.
Yeah, it's also like a bit of like a destiny thing almost, because maybe she can see kind of what's coming almost. But then at one point, I think it's around then that she says they cut her out of the system. Is that around?
It's a bit later on,
but I think it's when she was pulled out by the Oracle. I think that's when. It is a bit Matrixy, actually, isn't it? I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah. Zach and Perry then wake up and they're like, they realize that Sarah was sent up there to help them.
Yeah, and Alex seems to have like hope there. And then Brighton says about the transponder, and Zach's really panicking still. And he says, "What transponder?" And he's like panicking. And Barry's like, "Couple of seconds, just shut your gob." Because Zach's just constantly just like rabbiting on.
And Perry's just like, "Shut the fuck up."
Like, shut up.
I did like Perry. Apart from like his immediate Pufter remark, which we said outdated now. He's from 2050.
That's the thing, I think. I mean, you know what? They should have just done... They should have just made up their own slang.
They've made up so many words for this film.
Just make up like Zlonger or something. And we can just assume that it's homophobic or, you know, sexist or whatever.
And John wakes up and basically tells people, like, the transponder was turned off. Yeah. The aliens knew about Ithaca.
Aliens brought him there.
Sarah can't help us, basically. Like, the aliens have planned this all out. She can't actually help us.
And Perry's just like, he's basically just like, Sarah, just get us the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
He has like a whole thing. And then, because he's shouting and kind of being quite...
He gets...
like, almost like a leader in a way. He's kind of taking charge in a bit of a panicked way. Yeah.
He gets attacked.
The thing just, like, chomps on his jaw or his neck.
Yeah. Like, and it kind of flashes between, like, him getting... I've written Perry's getting fucked.
Yeah, I've got Perry's being fucked up, and this is where the grandma's talking to Sarah.
Yeah, it's kind of cut with like Perry getting fucked and Sarah talking to the Oracle.
My next point is boring. I'm just so bored at this point. I know there was a lot going on. I was just like,
oh no,
I was just tired. I was like,
I don't think I was. I watched this at like 2 a.m. yesterday, so earlier than I usually do.
So I watched it at like 11:30.
I wouldn't say I was into it, but I was invested in the story.
Yeah,
I wasn't bored like I was last week.
I'd already been to the cinema, so I'd already sat through a 2 and a bit hour film.
Yeah,
and it was that last night? No, I think it was the night before, so I hadn't been to the cinema. I was just tired. I don't
know. Yeah, and Sarah's talking to the old woman, and she says there's thousands aboard.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that's thousands of people or thousands of aliens.
I think it's thousands of people.
Right.
And the aliens say that they've been talking to Sarah for ages or something. Like, that's the implication.
Yeah.
She asks Sarah what opens the door, which I imagine, actually, now that I think about it, is the portal, right? Is that what they're talking about?
So
but then John wants the door to open.
I think he realises what the portal is. But I think the Oracle makes the
I
point.
don't think anyone realizes what the door is. It's just
I think the Oracle makes the point to Sarah of like, stop trying to open the door and just think what opens the door.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to like force it open, it's kind of like instead of just pulling at a door. Think about actually I need to twist the handle. Yeah. And then Perry's like beheaded.
Yeah, so they just pull his head off, and then there's quite a cool bit where it's kind of using him.
Yes,
I mean, it's not done particularly well because it's clearly.
I think it's all right.
I mean, for the budget, you'd think that a green screen suit could have been like, because you don't see you don't see below the neck. So there's just a bit of like a slug round his neck, and he's just talking in a funny
They kind
voice.
of put Perry's head up to Sarah's
on
face.
what we imagine is the end of like a stalk kind of thing, like a
on the end
tentacle.
of like, and the snake is the aliens are like talking through Perry's head.
Yeah.
And they're like, your species will die.
I've got more of these slithery things. Blah blah. Perry's head is talking to John Brighton.
Yeah, and then we get like basically a flash through the entire film up until this point.
Right, yeah. So she does a big reaching back to talk to her younger self thing.
Yeah.
And there's a whole what opens the door, and I think she says they both say we do or something like that. And it's a whole like
which,
like
if you think about it, it's kind of like, what opens the door? We do. It's like, oh, we'll go back to just trying to open the door then. Like,
yeah. And then they turn back time, and there's lots of imagery of like space.
Yeah, and then it kind of like rewinds a lot of the scenes we've seen.
Yeah, so it goes back through everything, and cutting in between to like pictures of Milky Way, and, like space, which I think are all original CG things.
Yeah,
but it's a bit like space. The space and no time
and like we see all kind of the flashbacks happening like reverse.
And it goes back to when John first wakes up in the thing, and then she's given him all the information.
All this stuff is kind of going on in John's head, so
she's almost experienced the whole film for us, thank God,
and then has put the film
put it into John's head.
They've given him like a preview of Project Ithaca, the film, not
so he
the
managed to watch it all in a very short amount of time,
and he's like, I've seen he's like, I've seen everything I need to see to beat them.
And then he has a bit of an stirring emotional performance when he realizes that she's kind of gonna stay there. And he's going, God damn it, Sarah. God damn it, no. And he's acting his arse off.
I thought he was pretty good.
I thought it was really funny. I didn't think it was
like it's obviously like
it's a bit hammy, isn't it? But
but like how much of that is like the directing?
Well, I mean, I've got a quote actually about that later on. But
and then John wakes up and surrounded by like snow.
Yeah, he's lying in the snow,
and they
still all
like,
inky, like they've clearly.
Like he's literally just transported back from this gooey ship back to Earth, and he's snow, and there's people around him, and he kind of stands up, and then you see like Perry, Zach, Alex, and Rhonda,
and there's a whole voiceover of him. Is it he's saying? There's something about the aliens have been taking us for ages. Now we can fight back.
Yeah, and there's like these 30 people that are standing there, and they see like a town in the distance, and they all kind of just get up and start walking
towards, and it's kind of like this hopeful ending. But I thought it was a bit stupid.
And then we see the spaceship orbiting Earth.
Well, just before that, I've got I assumed that the thousands on board were people. Because that was the way it was talked about. But there's only about 15 or 20 of them.
They might be other places.
There might be, yeah. I mean, it's a budget thing, obviously.
And we don't know when they are.
No. So that's, you're right about that. It's what you were mentioning earlier. But then it goes back to Sarah. She's now all plugged in. She's like almost in the pilot seat, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she's like got like a Matrixy. She's got tubes all in her and stuff. And is she like screaming or something? She's not happy. And she's on and this is when we zoom out, and that she's in like a bit of a pod, and it's like a living ship thing, a bio.
It kind of looks a bit like a squid.
Yeah, a bit like a Sentinel thing from Matrix. Isn't it? But like a longer.
Another thing that's like the Matrix.
Yeah, another Matrix thing.
I wonder if Nicholas Humphreys is a fan of The Matrix.
And then it goes out and out and out, and then it goes zooming across space, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And we see like it goes out of our solar system or whatever, and then we see this portal that we kind of got glimpses of before.
Yeah,
which is open, and all these ships kind of light speed.
We get like we got like 20 to 30 of these ships.
Yeah.
That was, and then they all appear, and there's credits, and I was like, oh, they thought they were going to get a sequel to this, didn't they?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's. Did you see the post-credit scene?
I did. So it goes to post-credits, and it's we're back in Raven Rock.
Yeah,
and the
we
computer
in like 59 or 69.
The computer that Sarah was talking through earlier is just saying John, and then turns off.
That's it,
and it's the end.
What does that mean? She's trying to reach back to him, I suppose, but
it really seems like they had an idea for a sequel.
I don't,
or they were just setting that up just in case it was successful.
I think it's just it's of the time, isn't it? You just do a post-credit scene, you just do an ending like that now. Which I think I don't know what they would have done, because it's a very
the ending.
You can't do anything because the whole thing of the nightmare scenario thing is inherently quite a small scale budget thing to do. Do you know what I mean? There's not you can't do like an alien. I mean, you could potentially, but
a sequel to this would have cost like.
I mean, it would be like an alien invasion film.
Yeah,
surely
it would be like 30-40 million at least. So yeah, it kind of ended quite quickly, but
yeah, it did, and I think that kind of big build up with the open the door thing, I don't think was particularly deserved. Like, it didn't really.
Yeah,
they didn't all. Even if they'd all done the hold hands and think about good thoughts, or that I feel like that would have been almost a better ending than. I like the time travel. I liked that. Like, although going back to
I did think at the end, like, what was the purpose of having people from different times? Like, it just seems a bit random.
And they didn't even really have any like culture clashes or anything. Apart from like Perry didn't like the fact that Zach had makeup and long hair, but
I don't think that's a different time thing. I think it's just a different people thing.
Yeah. But maybe that was supposed to be one. I mean, but there was no other.
But I feel like if they'd all just come from the same time, like, it'd be exactly the same.
Or it was supposed to be like they've always been here, or do someone from a much older time. But then it's more obvious immediately.
Yeah,
this is what I was saying about the costuming and stuff. Like, especially with the ink on them and the fact they're all disheveled, you can't really see what they're wearing, like, distinctively. And even when you see the flashbacks and stuff, you don't know immediately. So, yeah, I think that there was a good idea in this.
Yeah.
And I think they did well with that budget.
I think it was
don't think it was
convoluted and there
was a lot of like.
They'll probably be like, "Oh, you just didn't," and people who really love the film will be like, "Oh, you just didn't get it." I did get it. It just didn't need to be as needlessly complex as it was.
Yeah, and I don't think it was even really.
And I did like it.
It made it seem like it was deeper than it was, kind of thing. There was a lot of like show a bit here. It was like almost. I don't know how much of that was done in the edit. Almost, because certain scenes seem to be chopped and changed to make them seem more of a do you know what I mean? It seemed
it's also like it sets up like loads of questions in a third, and like it resolves the questions, but in resolving them sets up like another 3 questions for each one of the plot things.
Yeah, I would have preferred. I like a good like ominous. We've been here the whole time. Or
which I think was the tagline on the poster.
Yeah, like, they've always been here or something. Yeah, and I like the idea that they've somehow been studying Sarah for much longer than she's been there, potentially because they're timeless. So her staying there at the end of the film means that she's always there throughout time, but it's just, I think it was the delivery. It just made it didn't really have the like punch, it just made me think like, right, okay. And now I'm thinking about it and making the connections myself afterwards, a couple of days later, I'm thinking, right, okay, maybe there's something there, but it didn't really, I don't think it was that effective watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there definitely is budget constraints. I mean, the fact that what 60% of the film is close-up shots of people's faces.
Yeah, and I think it's like I said at the start, like the Saw kind of thing. They were thinking, set it all in one room.
Yeah.
Although there's a lot of shots in different places, but to keep the budget down, keep it all.
Yeah, I think it's definitely ambitious, and it doesn't quite pull it off. But I think the idea and the concept was good enough that I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I totally.
And
agree,
I wasn't bored at any point. Like I was intrigued.
Yeah, I was a bit bored in the middle, but I think maybe that was me rather than. Yeah, it was a bit blah blah blah. And I stand by that.
If I could change, one of the main things I would change is like the nonsensical,
the techno babble,
which like isn't from like, oh, we don't know science and stuff. It's just purposely made up stuff, and it's like you don't need to do that. You can say normal stuff.
I watched. Have you ever seen Primer?
No, but I've heard it's like all over the place.
It's all over. Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff like that. But I watched it recently, and there's a lot of techno babble, but it feels grounded. And there's a page on the Wikipedia about the real science behind it, and I don't know how much it adds up, but it's you're supposed to feel left out, but it's done in a different way.
Like almost every Christopher Nolan film will have a 5-minute scene of techno babble exposition.
Yeah,
but like it's usually like
you can kind of vaguely.
You
follow
think like
it,
Inception when Leonardo DiCaprio is explaining the idea.
Yeah.
When I can't
with
remember
Ariadne, is she called?
Yeah, Ariadne.
Yeah. I haven't seen it for years.
When they like
it's another Greek. That's another Greek mythology reference, isn't it? Yeah.
But that's all kind of techno babble, but you kind of go along with it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the only one that I think Tenet was
I
the
thought
one
you were going to say Tenet.
It didn't lose me completely, but I saw it once in the cinema and
yeah,
I don't even know. You know what it was? We've discussed this before, and there's a great video on YouTube where a guy takes the piss out of it. The scene with Michael Caine was the scene that lost me the most because it's not even techno babble. It's like, and then we went to this guy, and then it turned out that he was Russian, and then we went to this guy, and he wasn't even involved at all. And it turns out you got to go get this painting. And I was just, Americans, you don't have a suit.
That parody video on YouTube is great of like Christopher Nolan exposition.
That's very funny. If anyone hasn't seen it, I don't know what it's called. But if you just type in, I think it's every Christopher Nolan film has one of these. Yeah,
and it's basically the Michael Caine scene, but
and you don't need to have seen the Tenet specifically.
No,
but it's very funny.
But yeah,
I mean,
anyway.
that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think we're both basically saying there that we would rather have
less techno babble,
but even if it's techno babble, which I feel like is techno babble in itself now, just not saying it's. But even if it's something like that, you can do it in a way that's you can either follow it or you accept it. Whereas in this, you can't follow it or accept it.
Yeah, and it's the things like the biomechanoid and what was the other one?
Biomechanoid, something about.
Oh, the telepathy.
Oh yeah, but it sounds too much like leopards or lepers.
You turn to a leper every time something gets turned on.
But yeah, I mean, I think the characters had potential. I think they could have done a little bit more. I was kind of joking with the diverse range because they're all white people. Apart
I think
from
generally they're pretty good performances.
I think they're pretty.
Sarah's
good.
Not given much to do.
No, and I think Rhonda's given even less to do because she's quite an interesting character with the claustrophobia. The fact that she's from the 70s, which is quite a big difference from everyone else. And it never
kind of comes up.
That's what I mean. I think they could have done more. I think either go more into their differences in the goo room or do more flashes back to their lives.
Yeah.
Maybe start off
showing them all get taken.
Or showing them all in their lives for a bit. But then it ruins it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm sure this was the easiest best way to do it because somebody spent years working on this.
I think Perry, John, Alex and Zach Zach was a bit over the top, but generally I think they were pretty good performances.
Yeah, I liked Zach. I liked Alex. I thought she was really good.
I think Perry was quite a fun character.
Perry was one of the standouts for me because Zach was good, but he was a bit whiny. Alex was very good, but she didn't have as much play as some of the others.
Yeah, I think John was quite. He's obviously almost pigeonholed into this. You're the father figure,
kind of like the straight man, like the suit. Literally, he's like.
But I think he does it pretty. And like the scenes where he does need to show emotion. I didn't buy into that. But you know, if it worked for you, then great. Yeah,
you know, I think I was just ready for the film to finish. To be honest,
yeah, fair enough. So did you say you didn't have any trivia?
Well, I didn't find any trivia, but while we were while we were discussing that at the start, when we were kind of getting ready to record, I had a quick look and I found an interview with James Gallanders.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about some of the challenges. One of the reasons that he took the script. So I'll just read this out. It's not lengthy, but it's a bit of a bulk here. It says, when I read the script, I thought, what a challenge for these 6 actors that are essentially bound to their chairs or seats, and they're looking at each other from across the room, and you've got nowhere to hide. You can't walk across the room. You can't do a gesture with your hands or talk with your hands. It's all about your inner life, your backstory, knowing what you want and knowing what you need and taking everything all in. I think that was the only way to keep the ball in the air, if you know what I mean. I thought, geez, what a challenge. So that was really part of the appeal for me. It's quite cute, isn't it? And it made me think of it when you said about the raise your hand thing. I thought, I mean, it must have actually been quite a challenge. And the fact that we got these distinct impressions of these characters, you know, is a real testament
when they're
to the
literally being held back.
Yeah. It's funny that he says you've got nowhere to hide. Where
yeah,
you're actually going to try and hide somewhere.
But on James Gallanders, so after I finished, I basically just wrote Project Ithaca into YouTube to see if there's any discussion about, because it's kind of open ending, see if they. And I came across this like 2-minute review which had like 1,000 views, which was really quite positive. It was like this sci-fi guy was like, I really liked it.
I've seen quite a few.
Scroll down to the comments, there was 4 comments. One of them thanks for the review, James Gallanders. And I was like, oh my god. So I've clicked on it and
found his personal YouTube channel.
Yeah. So like, you know, when you go on an account, it's got like the video, the welcome
like
video.
the trailer almost.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute like clip of like him in different roles. It's titled like it's like James Gallanders demo. And I clicked on his videos. He's got 144 subscribers.
Oh my gosh.
And his account hasn't really been used for like a year. There's about 30 videos on there. The first maybe like 2/3.
30 videos.
Yeah,
the
first like 2/3, like 20 odd videos, are like snippets, like 2-minute clips of him in various TV shows.
Right. Okay.
So it's almost like a best of James Gallanders,
portfolio kind of thing.
Then there's 2 Project Ithaca behind the scenes videos, which are each about a minute, which is mostly just moving around the set.
So he's filmed them just while he's been there.
Yeah, so you kind of see them all up in these chairs with the...
So you can get a better view.
Yeah, you see a guy like wiping goo on Alex, and like it's all quite...
Cool.
And that's when you see the bag over Rhonda's head, but it's all lit up quite well. There's 2 of them. And then there's like 5 videos of him like doing stuff with nunchucks. No way. And like
he's on, like a martial arts guy?
He's on like the edge of this lake and he just like swing and like
that's so cool.
Like a big pole, and I was like, I quite enjoyed it. But then he's also got this like 2-minute video called
I don't know how I didn't get these videos. There's 2.
And he's got this one video because it was Stammer Awareness Day a few years ago. And he talks, and in this video, he's got like a stutter, a really bad stutter.
Right, okay. Well, even while he's talking in that video.
Yeah, and he was saying like, it's been really hard at times being an actor. And he said before he's turned away scripts because he's seen certain words that he knows he'll struggle with.
Wow, okay.
And he said when they like sit down to it at first reading.
Yeah.
What he always does is memorize the script first and sit there. He'll pretend to be reading along, but he'd actually have it memorized in his head. And I was like, fair. And he comes across as like quite a nice guy.
This is exactly what's happened with me with every time we watched a film and I watched a behind the scenes documentary. I started thinking these same things.
Yeah.
About, you know, Aidan Gillen and stuff when I watched the documentary, because it is nice to see these behind the scenes.
And like he just seems like, and like
see.
even in this video, he's like stuttering kind of constantly, and you're like, wow, you wouldn't even notice like the fact that he's an actor as well.
Wow, that's really impressive. Yeah,
and I was like, I like this James Galanders guy.
Him. So he's not really been in much. You said like he's been in stuff, but not in a like leading role. Really.
Yeah, he's kind of turns up in like odd episodes of TV shows. Cool. But I was like, when I saw that comment, I was like, please be the real James Galanders. And
that's really cool.
And
yeah. I mean, it's
quite nice.
I do think that generally all the performances in the film were good to the majority of the extent.
Yeah,
like there was bits that
they did what they could with what they were given.
Yeah, and I think that thinking about that quote from him as well, when he mentions the not being able to express in lots of ways, kind of makes me feel a bit mean for being horrible about his final emotional performance, because you kind of consider that as well. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do anything like that at all. Yeah,
and I imagine like a lot of actors will use like body language and arm movement.
Even now, like you're moving your hands as you're talking, like it's very natural to do.
So you kind of have to put it all into your tone of voice and just your head.
Maybe because it is a very emotional scene. I mean, he's basically saying goodbye to like his second daughter.
Yeah.
His daughter for the second time almost.
Yeah.
Well, because he said goodbye to her already, and then he's already said goodbye. You know what I mean?
He's lost his wife and daughter.
The intensity of it.
Shit.
The intensity of it, but done purely through face and voice. Maybe that's why I found it a bit silly, because I wasn't used to seeing that.
Yeah, it might have been better if he could have potentially done it away from the goo room, maybe back in the Oracle room or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would have been. Do you know what I mean? The performance would have been more what you'd imagine. Is why.
Yeah.
I think it was because it was so different to, that kind of thing. But cool. Was there anything else on that?
No, that's all I've got. As we both joked before we started, we looked on the IMDb trivia, and the only one was that the two guys that made this also made an episode of a TV show, and it was
and I thought, great. Okay, I don't know if that means something to some people. But, cool.
So ratings.
Yeah.
I think
you want to go. Yeah.
I would give it. I was split between.
I think I've got what I'm going for. So yeah.
A 6 or a 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with a 7 then, just so we've got slightly different. So I think, but on the discussion, it came across that I think I enjoyed it more than you did. Yeah. So I think I'll go for a 7. I think
it's a bit like last week with the science project to a degree. I think we came in with different points of view. I was a bit tired when I watched it. I kind of wanted to have a bit of a break in the middle just because I was a bit knackered, but I just wanted to get through it. Kind of thing. And I think I had to be up early the next day, so it was all these kind of things. But talking about it now, I think there was a lot of really good stuff in it. I think the performance,
I think there's more good than bad
thing generally with all the actors in it. Even like Sarah, who, like you said, wasn't really given much to work with, and or that she was playing quite.
She was believable.
She was believable. She was playing quite a like robotic character. Yeah, it was believable for what it was. But
I think there's more good about it than bad. Obviously, there's plenty, as we've just said. There's plenty of change.
But that's stuff that is more, like you said, budget, or maybe things that were edited slightly to make it more of something that it wasn't.
It's definitively better than My Science Project.
I think it's a much more modern film, so I think it's more palatable to modern tastes.
Okay.
No, I mean, fair enough. I can't remember what I rated that, but I'll give this one a 6. I think
I'll stick with a 7 then.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. So, do you want to move on to personal projects?
Yeah, let's.
I think I wrote down some because I always forget when I start. I was going to say about having the vaccine, but we mentioned that already. Yeah, so both had our second vaccine.
I to kind of build on what I'm still working on that Godzilla model.
You sent me a picture, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've now finished 2 legs, finished 2 arms. I've been working on the head.
Nice. So you can wear it as a costume at this point.
No, the head isn't much bigger than my hand, but the head looks a bit like it's much smaller than the legs. But if you look at a picture of Godzilla, like his legs are so much bigger than his head.
Yeah, I think when you showed me the outline that you'd made initially with the legs, I was thinking that doesn't. I think because one's 2D and the legs were 3D.
Yeah,
it looked out of proportion. But you think back, especially the well, it is based on the recent one.
Yeah. I have upscaled the head by like maybe 20%, just
so it's less noticeable.
But it's still going to be
because otherwise it's like a proper pea head.
Like,
but dinosaurs, quite a lot of them did have quite small heads.
Yeah, but Godzilla isn't a dinosaur.
But he's basically a dinosaur.
Oh no. And then leading on from that, actually, I watched through the Godzilla Singular Point, which I think we briefly mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Because I think
about 2 or 3 episodes ago, I think I just started it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't mention it on the last one because I think you were just finishing it, maybe. Yeah, we both finished that, didn't we? I watched it. Yeah.
Oh,
what do you reckon?
I can't say I really enjoyed it.
No, I think, what did we say last week? That it seemed a lot like, this is off mic, we said it seemed like a different anime, a different story with Godzilla added on.
Yeah, because all kind of like the classic Godzilla monsters aren't really true to themselves. Like Godzilla isn't a typical Godzilla. It's more like Rodan. Instead of Rodan, you've just got thousands of Rodans.
Yeah, and do you know what the bit I meant when we spoke about it, where there is one big one at one point, but it's like killed by Godzilla really quickly. It's like it's significantly bigger.
Oh
but
yeah,
it's such a short thing.
Yeah,
and the frustrating thing is the what's it, the end credits show all those different.
Yeah, you see actual proper Rodan and you see Mothra and like
with the twins and everything.
Yeah,
like it's
just a bit.
But it's
disappointing.
all like stylized and like I would rather like a cutesy stylized.
Yeah,
almost like a Teen Titans Go kind of version of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I didn't find like the subplot to be interesting.
That was
enough.
technobabble, right?
That was technobabble.
And they're talking about all these things being
like 6 equals 9
singularities, and it's all like as if they're prisms that are. And what were those things called? I don't know, those stupid little glass things which turned out to be made from the same red sand, and it was all just And Godzilla was the singular point.
Yeah,
it's like, what does any of this mean? And then there's the different AIs that went into the thing and fixed it, and then they talked to them. It was nonsense, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's a real shame because
I like some bits.
I like Godzilla.
I like the crazy old man, the fact that he built Jet Jaguar. I kind of like that Jet Jaguar ended up being. I didn't like it when Jet Jaguar was like a child's voice, but I liked it when it was like the kind of sassy robot.
Yeah.
I liked Godzilla's breath.
Atomic breath.
Atomic breath.
Yeah.
Even though it was kind of weird, I liked the weird circle, and I liked when it like demolished city, like going through Tokyo. I thought that was really cool.
On a complete different. I've got too much else to say about this. Okay, sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, it's fine.
I was just sticking on like some random Star Trek stuff. I watched an episode of the Star Trek animated series from like the late 60s.
Okay. I don't think I even knew that there was an
after the original series was cancelled, they then did 2 seasons of animated, which isn't very good.
Is it kind of like... No, I'm thinking of something else. Is it like the He-Man kind of animation?
It's like 60s Batman sort of animation.
Yeah, similar kind of, yeah.
But yeah, there was this one bit where like there's this alien like monster thing that's chasing like a child Spock, and it goes to roar, and it's literally the Godzilla roar, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Literally, like Godzilla's got such an iconic roar.
Well, that's the thing, because
I was gonna do it then, but maybe not.
Is it wrong in this? Is that, or was that, what was it we watched something? Oh no, we were talking about the dinosaur in Science Project, how the T-Rex had such a
sounded like a tiger.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But like it kind of was believable, but because you know the Godzilla roar, it just completely took me out. Like the fuck. And do you remember a couple of years ago when I watched Star Wars Rebels? There was an episode where they fight like an alien, and when it punches, it makes the Velociraptor sound from Jurassic Park 3.
That's right. I think you sent me a clip of it. Yeah.
And I was like, the fuck? And
this is weird.
Apparently, it's been going on since the 60s.
But that's weird with Star Wars, because you'd think, because they don't own, but they don't own, Disney don't own.
Yeah, and
Universal. I think.
I don't think Star Trek own Toho.
No, but in the 60s or 70s, I
you
think.
just get away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very weird.
It's the same with there's that, because we were talking about it after, I think, I don't know when it was, but there's that song Simon Says, which is like the rap song which samples the Godzilla theme. I think it was in like Charlie's Angels or something. It's like do 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 do. It kind of reuses that beat from the. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like that was in 2002 or something, and that seems weird they were able to sample it as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's not even a particularly well-known artist.
No,
at least not now.
Very bizarre.
Strange.
Anyway, yeah.
Who knows
sorry.
with Toho? Maybe they just use it, whatever.
Complete.
But then that's
tangent.
the thing, because they're very picky about Americans
Yeah.
using their. Because the whole thing with Godzilla 99, is it?
98.
98. That was like the first time
Yeah.
they were able to use the license properly. And
Yeah,
then they fucked it up, so they weren't allowed to use it again.
They'd made like American
right?
versions of the classic Japanese songs.
Yeah.
So like the original Godzilla, the American version is cut with lots of American news broadcasters explain what's happened.
Yes.
Same with Godzilla versus Kong. But that 98 was the first time that an American studio had made
able
it,
to have full
and it
kind of
was
control.
so shit. They were like, "We're not doing this again."
Yes, yeah. And then I guess 2015 or so,
2014.
Yeah, they were given the rights again.
But I think they kind of said like, "This needs to be actually Godzilla and not some weird dinosaur with the name Godzilla."
There was some news about the Monsterverse. They've said they're working on multiple projects because Godzilla Kong. The director said the reason why there wasn't a post-credit scene is because they didn't know what they were doing, and they were going to gauge it on audience reaction, which is a good thing to do. Yeah, because
maybe see what people like and go with it.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Have you been up to much personal project wise?
I saw the Suicide Squad twice now, actually. So I won't go into that because obviously you haven't seen it. I haven't seen you've heard
general opinion.
It's miles above the previous.
Who would have guessed?
Despite what some people are saying online, I saw recently apparently Snyder fans are review bombing it, which is great. It's also not making much money because we're in a pandemic, so who knows if DC will have the brains to keep James Gunn on board, because he said he wanted to do Suicide Squad versus Superman, which would be great. And I think Henry Cavill would probably actually get involved with if James Gunn was in it.
Yeah.
So and he said that there's a script that he wants to do if he's coming back, kind of thing. So you know, it'd be great. It is a bit Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's kind of just it is
James Gunn.
But it's incredibly violent. It should definitely be an 18, not a 15.
Right.
It's good.
Fair play.
Yeah.
I'll probably
it's available if you know where to look. So because it's on HBO Max. So I'm sure if you wanted to watch it,
you could get a VPN. And
I tried to do that, but you need. So this is when Godzilla Kong originally came out, before it was available for us when we went to see it in the cinema.
Because that was HBO Max.
Yeah, I got an account, but you need an American credit card or debit cards.
Oh, really?
And I made a PayPal, but they don't accept PayPal on it. So I tried all these things.
I'm sure there's ways around.
I got Express.
It's always really annoying when stuff's released on like HBO, and it's like you're asking us to like find alternate ways.
Now TV in the UK does get a lot of those things. So Zack Snyder's Justice League went on there, but if it's a cinematic release, they do the charging. Yeah, it's just like if you can
legally, even if you have to pay for it, legally watch something in America. Yeah. If you're not making it legally available in the UK, then you're just asking for people to go through illegal routes.
The Mandalorian season 1, Disney Plus wasn't available here I think it was November through to May or something like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people watched it other ways.
It used to be a case as well that by the time Rick and Morty was shown on British TV, everyone had already watched it like months ago.
Well, I imagine it's the same. We were talking about Archer. I think that was off mic last week.
Yeah.
We were completely unaware that a whole season had come out.
Yeah, because I just watched it on Netflix.
Yeah, because Netflix is up to 10 and 12 is coming out soon.
Yeah, I did actually last night watch half of season 11.
Oh, yeah.
But
any good?
Yeah, it's kind of so he's waking up from his coma, and it's been 3 years, and like they're not called ISIS anymore, but they've kind of moved on without him.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That makes sense.
The last episode I had quite a cool comeback from a old character, and I was like,
cool. Okay.
and like with like a different kind of twist on them, and I was like, nice.
No.
Yeah, I'll probably watch the other 4 over the next week.
Cool.
It's only 8 episodes, but
yeah, that's quite easy to get through.
The other thing we both watched.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'd do
both watched Marvel's What If.
Quick bit of What If. So I mean, as with all these things, spoilers obviously as soon as we start mentioning them.
Yeah, we're
a full spoilers podcast. I think,
yeah. If you didn't realise that by now, then
we'll do a quick, quick bit on there.
So I quite enjoyed it. It was quite nice to see the alternative universe.
It was
like
it was quite paint by numbers in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
it wasn't till the end bit, the last kind of act. I guess it was in a 30-minute thing.
But it was basically like Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah.
If it was Agent Carter instead.
Yeah, and there
or
was
Captain
some
Britain. As
good
she is.
bits where, well, she's Captain Carter.
Captain
Britain is a different.
Yeah.
But there was some good stuff like how. I mean, first of all, I think I've seen this said in other places, but her and Steve in the Hydra Stomper were just like so much of a better team than they got so much more done.
Right. So
even without him, they get the cube straight away.
I know. I said this to Christina at the time. Like, I kind of hope that this What If doesn't turn out to be, everything would have gone better if the films didn't go the way they did.
If the rest of them are like that, you mean?
Yeah, because like in this, like Steve Rogers gets injured, so Agent Carter,
she steps in the
and then she gets the Tesseract.
Yeah, she immediately goes to Berlin and
gets it. Bucky Barnes doesn't get killed, and
and he goes, almost ripped my arm off.
Yeah, and also he's like, I hate trains, and I was like, But yeah, it seems like she was a lot more efficient and better at the job than Steve Rogers was.
I think I saw it said somewhere that because she was already more military trained, it might be part of it. And maybe later on they'd kind of even out.
And it nearly
it's animated, so she's much, much more acrobatic. She's leaping.
I thought that stuff was quite cool. And like, she was brutal to some of the soldiers.
And also she's quite enjoying the fact that she's suddenly got this power, which is quite good because, like she's flipping the truck and she's like, I'm going to do it again. She does it again. Stuff like that.
And we nearly get an ending like the first Avenger where it's like, we'll still have our day.
But it's
Cap is going twice,
instead kind of thing,
and she's going off into another. But then she just comes back.
But she comes back in the.
Oh yeah, I thought that was
the thing. So this is a whole gripe I had with it.
I thought that was really cool.
It was good, but it was the space stone, not the time stone. So did she go to a pocket dimension for 70 years? Because
let's say that
she comes straight through.
Well, if you think about it, where she goes is Hydra's opened it up
to somewhere else.
Yeah, which made for a second I thought, wait, is Ward from S.H.I.E.L.D. going to come out? If Ward from S.H.I.E.L.D. had come out, I would have been so happy.
I was racking my brain and I thought it was going to be the
it could be like Hive.
No, I thought it was going to be the Guardian, the Asgardian. What's it called? The Destroyer.
Oh yeah,
because that would have made sense almost because it's like an Asgardian link to it, and they could have used it as a weapon. But I'm glad they didn't go that way. No, because it's more interesting.
I assumed she went to almost like a timeless.
Because there's
portal area.
I think
because she jumps out immediately as if she's still fighting.
She's probably been fighting a bit because she's cut off. She cuts off. But there's been
But she comes out as if it's been like 5 minutes.
That's what I mean. Yeah, so it must be like a timeless thing.
But I quite like because obviously in the films when they open up when they play the test, open up, Loki comes out.
But
it's like actually. Loki hasn't got it,
No, well, yeah, because he wouldn't have had it because they didn't lose it in the ice, and
they didn't lose it in the ice
because obviously the events of Thor must have not happened or not necessarily.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that I'm interested in, right? So that's obviously changed the timeline in this universe. I imagine that some of the other ones, the what if episodes, are going to take place in different universes. But I wonder how many of them will take place in this universe because this change happened.
Well,
because there's rumors of them linking up, which could be interdimensional, and that would be more fun. But what if all the episodes are in this new universe and this one thing has changed it? Kind of thing?
Because
you know what I mean?
if they were going to do that, it would make sense to start with the first Avenger.
Yes.
Because chronologically...
Because I think the next one is... I think it's Black Panther is in Guardians.
Right, yeah, he's Star-Lord.
Yeah.
I know it's
so
one
this
of the
is what I'm... So I know that that's one of them, and I'm hoping that is the next one, because I kind of want to get onto the more weird ones.
Yeah.
That's like...
There's going to be a zombies one, isn't there?
Yeah, so I'm hoping maybe there's... Because the reviewers that have got the review copies, I think they got the first 3. And a lot of them have really been very like, oh, it's a masterpiece, all this kind of stuff. And you could say that they're paid by Disney, but realistically, there's probably some good stuff at the end of the 3rd episode that's like game-changing stuff. So
maybe we should start getting paid by Disney.
Who says we're not? I love Disney.
Wait, you're getting paid by Disney? Why am I getting paid by Disney? After shitting on the science project last week, which they
exactly. That's why I was so positive about that. Shit. No, I enjoyed it for what it was.
You're going to send your check back to the mouse.
Disney, make sure you don't address it to Lewis. Yeah, cool. Was there anything else on that one? We kind of just trailed off.
Yeah, I think that's...
No, I was going to say, there's a comic book character, Shumagorath, which is like a Lovecraftian kind of thing.
Right.
That's been rumoured to show up at some point, maybe in Doctor Strange multiverse. So I think when people saw the tentacles, there was a couple of articles saying maybe it's some prelude to that, because it's kind of... I think it's Shumagorath, which I think is a play on like a Lovecraftian being.
Yeah.
I think it's a sorcerer supreme from a different dimension who happens to be a giant squid type thing. So
why not?
Why not? I mean, it might be that. It kind of just seemed like a big squid monster, and that's fine if that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting if this is some sort of prelude.
Maybe it's the aliens from Project Ithaca.
And it's all just a nightmare. What if I was in the future and Steve was back in the past, is what she's thinking.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I was going to say with that very quickly, because I'm aware we've talked about this for 15 or so minutes, maybe.
I have no idea.
The thing that I think they missed out on is that they kind of go down the route of Steve becoming a Winter Soldier type thing, but they don't really do it, because it looks like, because he gets blown up on the train instead of Bucky.
Yeah, instead of becoming Winter Soldier, he becomes Iron Man.
But he's already Iron Man. And then, do you know what I mean? Because he's already become... Because he gets blown up on the train.
Yeah, no, of course.
Do you know what I mean? And then he's captured. So they kind of do a weird altering of events. Because, do you know what I mean? I feel like maybe they will go down that route, and maybe a weird robot Steve will turn up in a future episode if Captain Carter comes back. The other thing is, would you like to see Captain Carter in the MCU proper?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I think Hayley Atwell's always been pretty good.
They'd have to do some sort of padding or like Lord of the Rings effects,
but
I mean, they could do it. And I think she's been good enough to... I know I say good enough, she gets paid millions, I'm sure, at least hundreds of thousands, to show up as an old lady in bed in a flashback in the 60s. I think she's done her dues, and she deserves, especially now Agent Carter has been relegated to the Legends.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it would be great for her to get
everything in the MCU. The only thing I haven't seen is the second season of Agent Carter.
And I think that might be the same for me. If you don't account things like Runaways and Cloak and Dagger.
Oh no, I know
you've watched them.
I've watched Cloak and Dagger. I've watched Inhumans. I've watched all of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've watched all the Netflix. I've literally watched everything except the second season of Agent Carter, because Like two. I really liked season one.
We watched it like in tandem, didn't we?
Yeah, 2-3 episodes in, I just got bored and never went back to it.
Yeah,
and there's 2 seasons of Runaways as well that I've watched.
Yeah, see, I liked the first season. I didn't finish or didn't start the second season.
Cloak and Dagger was pretty good as well.
Yeah, I remember you being quite positive about it. But yeah, anyway, I think it would be great, and I think Multiverse of Madness, if they haven't already planned it, would be a great way to at least have a flash of her.
The only thing is, like,
where does she fit in as well?
Yeah, and it's like she's in the past. It's already been implied that she grew old with Steve.
But this is multiversal though, so she.
Yeah,
if it's literally this version,
they could pull her out of that universe and put her in.
Depending on what happens in the rest of this series.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, or a slightly different version.
I mean, like,
because there's unlimited. There's
exactly.
Universes.
Like they can literally do whatever they want now, and it's believable.
Yeah.
So
that's
why not?
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, so I think that's it for today's episode. So if you want to reach us at all, we've got a couple of different ways you can do that. You can send us an email at theprojectprojectpod@gmail.com. If you want to contact us on Facebook or Instagram, it's The Project Project Pods. And Twitter is @thatprojectpod. And as mentioned last week, we've now got a Reddit subreddit.
Yes, The Project Project.
Yeah. So if you want to catch up on episodes, discussion, theories, pop them on there.
Yeah.
Suggestions for any episodes. I did a deep dive recently and found about 30, 40 episodes of TV shows which have projects in the title. So we might combine some of them into kind of multi-episodes at some point. See some themes, but there's some good things that we're both fans of in there, which is good because I think
should be nice because
mix it up between I
don't think we've watched anything yet that I'd already seen, so
no, I don't think so. And it would be interesting for, I mean, I won't go into them now, but if one of us is a bigger fan than the other kind of thing, that would be quite an interesting discussion there for us and for you. So, so thank you for listening. And anything else you want to add, Lewis?
No, I think that's just about it. So good night.
And thank you for listening. Bye.